It took me nearly 150 hours to platinum Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I am going to show you what happened throughout this entire playthrough, from the story experience to the various pieces of side content ranging from quests, minigames, and combat challenges, which then led to one of the hardest trophies I've had to unlock yet.
I've lost. Can't believe this game.
Despite the struggles I would suffer, I would also experience the highs of improving.
This is it, finally.
Oh my god. There are a total of 61 trophies, the platinum itself, 1 gold, 5 silver and 54 bronzes, needing near 100% completion of the game to obtain its platinum trophy, so we're going to break this lengthy video into chapters. First, we're going to complete the main story, collecting every possible trophy that we can in our first playthrough. Secondly, we'll be covering the remaining miscellaneous trophies, and lastly, the hard mode playthrough. So let's dive into the story of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. A sequel to Final Fantasy VII Remake released back in 2020, let's have a short recap of what's happened so far that I'll gladly use from the game itself. Midgar, the city of Mako, is ruled by Shinra, who drains the planet of its very essence, the life stream, and processed it for industry as Mako. With the world dying, there were people who rose up in her defense. Avalanche, among them Cloud, an ex-soldier hired by the Resistance to destroy Reactor 1. Amidst the aftermath of the attack, Cloud met a flower seller named Aerith. She offered him a yellow blossom, one said to symbolize reunion, and thus was destiny set in motion. With Reactor 1 gone, Avalanche set their sights on Mako Reactor 5. Unfortunately, they were playing right into Shinra's hands. The company was able to draw the wool over the people's eyes, and in the end, destroyed Sector 7, killing thousands and laying the blame on Avalanche. Aerith had struck a deal with Shinra, who took her into custody. With her capture, Shinra's obsession was within reach, the fabled Promised Land. For Aerith was the last of the Cetra, the ancient stewards of the planet, and only she could guide them to paradise. To save her, the team infiltrated the Shinra building, yet during their flight they came face to face with a man thought dead, the vaunted war hero Sephiroth. Before he could be stopped, Cloud's foe fled with the corpse of Genova, the cataclysm from the stars and the catalyst of their plight. Eventually they made their escape. Pursuing troopers defeated, they raced towards Midgar's edge, where Sephiroth once again intervened. Whispers, the arbiters of fate, descended upon the city. Before their imposing wall, Aerith warned them this was Destiny's crossroads. Every moment, every action, every step taken had all been as the Whispers willed it. To fight them was to break free. On the other side of fate, Sephiroth waited, the Whispers undulating within him. Cloud brought his blade down upon his rival, sundering destiny. With the fights won and the shackles of destiny broken, they stood before the unknown, a world of boundless freedom. It was there beyond where fate could follow that a new journey began. The interlude opens at the Midgar Expressway, where the Shinra building has been destroyed. To the public, it is deemed as a massive tornado that caused its destruction. We're then shown Zack helping Cloud suffering from Mako poisoning, moving their way closer to Midgar. The news being shown live in the sector, the cameraman broadcasts a confidential conversation that the suspect is an ex-soldier and armed with a buster sword. Coincidentally, what Zack is carrying. We then see glimpses of Barret, Tifa, Red 13 and Aerith being lifted by helicopter, in which Red awakens, causing havoc, resulting in it to come crashing down. Zack heads on over, dealing with numerous security officers, and ends up saving Aerith, but she is not well. Chapter 1 begins, and we're in the city of Calm, the present day, where the crew are discussing how Cloud knows Sephiroth, in which it all started 5 years ago. He got a mission with him to travel to Nibelheim to check on its reactor, due to reports of strange new monsters. Home sweet home for Cloud, as Sephiroth puts it, and asks him how's it feel, as he has no home himself and wouldn't know. Cloud asks if he still has parents though. He replies a mother named Genova, but she died shortly after he was born. Sephiroth allows us to be off duty till sundown. We explore the town like going up the water tower for nostalgic reasons, seeing if Tifa was at her house, and visiting Cloud's mum, which would be the first time after 2 years, and the last. The day of the mission. It turns out Tifa is our guide to take us up to the reactor. We encounter a pair of monsters and engage in combat for the first time, which results in unlocking 2 trophies. The first for staggering an enemy, and the second taken for winning our first battle. Shortly after, another trophy would unlock for exploiting an enemy's weakness. Ascending up the mountain, a storm begins to occur. All we need to do is cross the bridge to arrive at the reactor. Unfortunately, a lightning strike causes the bridge to break. We fall below into the river and manage to save one of our comrades, with the other being swept away. 2 hours later, we still need to go to the reactor, and end up stumbling across some naturally formed materia.
And look at the size of it. Astounding. For the Mako energy to condense into something like this, it must have taken an eternity.
I've always wondered, how does materia let you cast spells exactly?
How did you ever get to be a soldier? To put it simply, the knowledge of the ancients is sealed within each orb. That knowledge not only connects us to the planet, it allows us to tap into her power. That's how we can use magic. Or so they say.
Sephiroth would then join our party, meaning we would unlock our 4th trophy for using a synergy skill, a beneficial skill in battle between 2 characters, as it would contribute into increasing the ATB gauge, allowing us to use stronger abilities and spells. Before reaching the reactor, we encounter our first boss fight, the Materia Guardian. With the assessed materia equipped, this allows us to identify its weaknesses, immunities, and what can cause the monster to be pressurized, then eventually staggered for additional damage. We would unlock 2 trophies in this fight, the first for freeing an ally from a bound attack, and the other for using a synergy ability, which can provide various buffs depending on what one is used, like unlimited mana. This reactor is unique due to it being overseen by research and development instead of the usual jurisdiction of urban planning. Inside lies pods filled with monsters and what is known as Genova. The pods are originally built for the production of artificial materia, but Professor Hojo repurposed them as incubators for animals infused with Mako. But there's more than just animals infused with Mako.
Look.
Sephiroth begins to speculate his own creation, and eventually we head back to the inn. Sephiroth would then leave for Shinra Manor. Originally used to conduct research, it turns out to have a secret basement filled with lab equipment and documentation on Genova. We find him reading that it was a life form in stasis which was excavated from a 2,000-year-old rock layer. Genova would be verified as an ancient, and a project would be approved to resurrect the long-dead ancients, in which Sephiroth concludes that this initiative resulted in his creation. In silence, he begins to walk, throwing Cloud out of his way. He passes out only to wake to pure horror. The village in flames, people killed, and buildings collapsing. Cloud runs to check on his mother. Opening the door, the house is succumbed to flames, blasting him backwards, and his mother's last words are heard. A civilian tries to help him, who is pierced by Sephiroth. Continuing his horrific actions, he would return to the reactor for Genova. Tifa mentioned that is where she and her father went to hide. He decided to confront Sephiroth, but was unfortunately killed. Tifa, in a state of rage, is seen doing the same and is wounded. Having followed Sephiroth to the reactor, Cloud would see her in this state and move her out of further harm's way. He then enters Genova's chamber to confront Sephiroth. However, this is all what Cloud remembers. Aerith says it was all over the news that Sephiroth went missing during a training exercise. Then a couple days later, they started reporting that he was killed in action.
The news outlets are nothing but Shinra mouthpieces spewing propaganda. Only dumbasses believe that shit.
Question. Does that make me a dumbass?
I didn't say that. What I meant was, screw Shinra for manipulating honest folks.
But why has Sephiroth decided to return after 5 years? A sudden headache, Cloud says Sephiroth wants to reclaim his birthright and rule over the planet with Genova at his side. Calling it a night, everyone heads back to their room. Tifa tells Aerith that as far as she knows, Cloud was never in Nibelheim 5 years ago. She wakes Cloud up later in the night to have a conversation. On their way for privacy, he experiences a vision of Sephiroth manipulating him by claiming that Tifa died. So who is she? Or rather, what is she? Cloud wants to ask Tifa something himself first. The night he saw her lying there, the wound, and all the blood, he figured it was too late. Tifa is confused and asks what he's implying. That she died? That she is some kind of imposter? She decides to show the scar as proof. After Cloud had left, she was taken to a clinic, the doctors who operated on her all night, and the nurses who looked after her for days on end. But where has Cloud been this entire time, she asks. More head pain for Cloud, he simply replies, I can't tell you that. Complicating matters further, Tifa heads back for some space. One final conversation before returning to bed, they're unable to resolve their differences about what transpired in their hometown 5 years prior, concluding chapter 1 for a trophy. Everyone's already left the inn, and we need to check up on our equipment so we're also good to go. But before that, a gift has been left on the door, a Queen's Blood starter deck. A card game where we'll find players around the world to challenge them. There are a few players in the City of Calm, meaning we would unlock a trophy by beating these players and raising our Queen's Blood rank. We then meet up with Aerith at the observation deck to get a glimpse of Midgar. However, it is cut short due to an invasion of a Shinra search party. We make our detour and bump into the innkeeper Broden, who kindly helps us flee the scene by taking us back to the inn to regroup with the others, taking the secret exit out of Calm, and there's a lot to take in.
Just look at it all. It's so green. A living, breathing planet. Even after everything we've done to it, it's still going strong.
It may look that way, but in reality, it's barely hanging on.
Even though there's an objective marker for the main story, I would explore much of the area. I fought numerous enemies, and by using a weapon's ability several times, I would max out his proficiency for a trophy. I then stumbled across a cache location that has treasure scattered around, and by finding them all, a trophy would unlock. Next, an orb of materia I had would level up. We need to cross these plains and come across a swampland. By getting through it, it would allow us to enter the mines and eventually hit Junon. However, the swamp is home to the deadly Midgard Swarmer, and our only way through is to rent a chocobo. We make it to the local farm, and Billy tells us that they do not have any left, but one of their birds ran off the other day, and if we manage to catch them, then he's ours, free of charge, which we successfully do. We then meet Chadley, who we helped in Remake, by giving him battle intel allowing him to create materia, and we'll be doing that entire process again, as we need it all for a future trophy, but this time, there's a lot more to do. There are several types of intel a region can have, and they are vastly different to one another. Activation, which are towers around the map, activating them reveals more intel to find, like Expedition, which are to analyze life springs allowing us to learn more about the region. Divine, that will allow us to enhance an entity's summoning materia. Fiend, which are fights against stronger enemies. Phenomenon are to collect a proto-relic that lead to a mysterious quest line. Excavation, where we'll use our chocobo to unearth transmuter chips. It also comes into play for needing certain chips for side quests. And finally, Moogle intel, where we help bring back the Mooglets to their home. By doing this, this will allow us to spend our Moogle medals we find around the world for various items. With most of the side content discussed, it wouldn't be too long until I got a fair amount of trophies unlocking, such as gathering world intel at 5 separate locations, another for using our chocobo scent mechanic. When you notice a blue circle around your chocobo's head, this means it can sense an item nearby, and by digging up 2 items, it results in a trophy. By also assessing all the monsters around the region, Chadley would give me combat simulations to participate in, another piece of intel that will need to be fully completed, meaning it's a good idea to assess everything you fight. During these fights, I would use my first limit break to do some serious damage, and summon my first entity to help me in battle. Side quests had also appeared. Like the intel, we must complete them all for another future trophy. Not only do these side quests give you rewards, but they build upon the world as well as your relationship with the characters due to the new affinity system, as by completing certain quests, it will increase their affinity further. There are many other factors hidden away, such as your choices at certain points of the story, even learning new synergy skills within the folio tree, and using them in battle can change your relationship with the characters for the first time, as well as the conversations you answer to during the story, meaning you may get a different cutscene or two to someone else later in the game. And by completing the first side side quests, we would unlock a trophy. In the open world, I would stumble across a chocobo stop that can be used for fast travel as well as the option to rest to restore our health and mana. By repairing 3 chocobo stops, I would unlock another trophy. Then while tackling the Phenomenon Intel quest, we would obtain the first proto-relic. This would then conclude the grasslands area by gathering all pieces of world intel in a region. Then finally returning to Chadley to defeat the summon entity Titan and obtain its materia for a trophy. Returning to the swamplands with our chocobo, Cloud spots Sephiroth in the distance, but everyone else just sees a man in black robes. We continue onwards and accidentally stumble across the gigantic Midgard Soma. We target its head and hit it with blizzard spells until it flees, taking Cloud with it and descending into the swamp. However, Sephiroth appears and slaughters it, saving Cloud in the process. The group retrieve Cloud and Aerith wakes him up. Upon noticing the corpse of the creature, he asks about Sephiroth, but Aerith shakes her head. We notice more black robes going into the Mithril mines, and our hunch is that they're looking for Sephiroth, so we follow, concluding chapter 2.
Monsters we can handle. We've dealt with worse.
That's easy for you to say. You fought the worst for a living.
Not us, though.
Yeah, good point. You mind taking the lead, Merc?
For 2,000.
Enough for her standard course. Twice, right?
Her what now?
Ask him.
Cloud?
Forget it. You guys need to focus.
The ground falls under some of the black robes, so Barret and Red go down below to check on them, while Cloud, Tifa and Aerith follow the others, until they eventually hear and eavesdrop a conversation on 2 Shinra Turks, Rude and Elena, who are also following the robes. They accidentally hear us, so we show ourselves and make quick work with them by using powerful offensive abilities as well as synergy attacks to easily get them staggered. Barret and Red make it just in time, but another member, Song, appears. He says things have changed. While we're still wanted fugitives, if we stay out of their way, they'll stay out of ours, distracting us enough for Elena to set off a grenade, causing the floor to collapse. Separating the 2 groups again, we clear through the mines, solving various puzzles, scaling the terrain, and defeating a gigantic stone golem. Making it out of the mines, we notice a group of black robes and wonder why are they so desperate to find what they're searching for, concluding chapter 3. Now we're in the region of Junon, and I decided during my playthrough I would do all the possible intel before tackling the main story. This would result in 2 trophies, one for gathering world intel at 50 separate locations, and the other for obtaining a proto-relic in the Junon region, in which I had to play several games of Fort Condor, which is a tower defense minigame. We would then enter under Junon and meet Rhonda, the mayor. She seems to recognize us and confirms this with Avalanche wanted posters. She thankfully turns a blind eye. We ask if any black robes had passed through, but they haven't. We split up to see if we can find any more information about them, and to meet at the inn once we're done. Someone starts shouting for help as a monster is attacking someone in the port, the Terror of the Deep. By using lightning spells to pressure it and summoning Ramu for additional help, we slay the creature and return to shore to help the unconscious person. She turns out to be fine and recognizes us as Avalanche. She introduces herself as Yuffie and asks us for a favor that she'll talk about tomorrow. We go to rest at the inn and check on the others. Overhearing a conversation from Aerith talking to someone we haven't heard before, she notices Cloud, who asks who's in the room with her, only to reveal Red. She discusses how her mum and Marlene could be doing. Barret wonders what Yuffie could want. Red says he might not be able to detect Shinra due to the smell of the fishing town, and Tifa, where Cloud says he regrets what he said back in Calm and he shouldn't have doubted her. Resting for the night, Yuffie knocks on our door and properly introduces herself.
It's time you got to know me. My name is Yuffie, materia hunter and elite ninja operative for the interim Wutai government. I left my beloved homeland behind to bring an end to Shinra's reign of terror and prove that Wutai's not to be trifled with.
She asks us to join her and follows up that Rhonda offered her a gig, an assassination on the company president Rufus Shinra, who will be directly above us for his inauguration parade. She reveals that Rhonda will be paying her with our bounty. We then hear a familiar voice outside, Roche. His mission is to retrieve Aerith. However, he wants to fight us in the city above and leaves. Rhonda thanks us for dealing with him and gives us a share of the money to prove we're on the same side. Before Yuffie left, she told us to speak to Priscilla if we wanted to get topside, and we end up using a dolphin to access the ship lift controls to get the others up. We then get a cutscene of Rufus Shinra having a surprise meeting with a Wutai emissary called Colonel Glenn Lodbrok, into which Rufus has a distinct memory of killing him. He discusses that the Viceroy of Wutai and Rufus's late father had big plans, being war, and wanted to know if Rufus intended to carry them out, to which he does. However, with his father dead, it changes the question. A new vision is required. Back to Cloud and Co. Barrett asks us if we're going to skip the opportunity with Rufus, but instead of killing him, we talk to him. To which Aerith agrees, because the Turks told us back in the mines that we could do whatever as we're not after you. However, Roche said that he was, so to straighten things out, we must blend in with the parade to get close and ask questions. On our way out, we get stopped by the commander who doesn't recall seeing us in practice, and has us do a form check in which we do so well that she promotes us to the parade captain. We must round up our fellow troopers currently on leave in the local area. The commander mentioned we require 5 sets of troopers for the parade. However, in the objectives, you'll notice this number is out of 10. By successfully rounding all of them up, we unlock a trophy. Before beginning the parade, we also need to set up our troops in a Pacific formation, which involves harder performances. Rufus wants to use the Cannon of Junon for his parade, but Heidegger says even a ceremonial display would constitute a violation of the ceasefire between Wutai, and they would view it as a willful act of aggression. Despite this, it is still fired. We begin the parade and manage to put in an outstanding performance to unlock a trophy, which was the reason why we put our troops in that formation. We also won the President's Commendation, in which Rufus wants to speak to us privately. This is because he knows it is us, as the Turks have been monitoring the parade this entire time. With the cameras and audio cut off from live television, Barrett and Red are concerned when they notice Yuffie walking by. Rufus gives us a proposition. As his father left him unfinished tasks like the recapture of a fugitive of ancient descent, the recovery of a stolen lab specimen, and the execution of Avalanche, none of which are any interest to him because he has a new vision for Shinra. All he wants is Sephiroth dead in return. We accept the deal. The lead to Sephiroth is those in black robes, and Rufus tell us that according to Hojo, they're connected to Sephiroth, shadows of the man he calls them. Following them will eventually lead to Sephiroth. However, our conversation is cut short by Yuffie.
Get down! Get over here!
So that's your game.
It wasn't us.
Spare me. You had your chance.
With chaos ensuing to catch the criminal, Red says that one of the rogue men was heading to the port. Cloud urges the others to go while he handles the infantry to throw them off. But they've heard rumours that the conspirators are to be in stolen uniforms, so for our safety, they will be joining us, even fighting in battle, and we must make sure they make it to the port alive for a future reward. We would then stumble across Roche for that fight, upstaging him another time, he gives us a gift, and we continue our way to the port and say goodbye to the infantry. The rogue men board onto the ship, but they're screening passengers, so we try our luck at the cargo entrance. We say to the ship captain that we're allowed on board due to winning the President's Commendation. He says he has not heard of this, and we follow up that the President is a busy man, ultimately allowing us to stay in second class, concluding Chapter 4. Boarding the Shinra 8, it's time to relax with a Queen's Blood tournament, while we wait to arrive at Costa del Sol. We challenge opponents like Madame M and Chadley to progress to fight the reigning champion, Regina. But we're not finished yet. Red challenges us, and by playing cards like Titan for the high damage stat, and Arc Dragon to weaken his cards, we would win the tournament, resulting in a trophy. During the night, alarms are broadcasted that monsters have invaded the ship. We witness horror when these fiends merge with the Black Robe figures, becoming more dangerous to the passengers, meaning we must defeat them. A cutscene then happens with the ship captain contacting public security that the fiends are merging with tattooed men in black robes. However, they've redirected him to Hojo as it falls under his jurisdiction. He seems to be pleased with this development and instructs the captain to ensure the experiment proceeds. Going deeper into the ship, we find Barrett protecting the robes until the captain starts shooting them dead, and then it had to be done for the sake of his passengers and crew. The group of robes start to merge themselves, revealing Sephiroth.
They say she's a monster. That she can peer inside you, into the very depths of your soul. That she can become those you hate, those you fear, those you love. And they call her Jenova.
Suddenly, Jenova Emergent appears. We target its body parts to cripple it and finish it off with a dive kick. With the monstrosity defeated, Sephiroth vanishes while saying to Cloud not to be fooled by her. The captain announces that the disturbance has been resolved and that will shortly arrive at Costa del Sol, concluding Chapter 5.
Perhaps we could find some shade first. I'm about to melt.
Could shave you. You better not be suggesting we all hit the beach. Hey, I saw that. Don't go thinking I didn't. You two said it with your eyes.
Costa del Sol, a resort paradise with so much to do. First, we need to seek respite from the sun. We try to book at the local hotels, but they're unfortunately fully booked. Luckily, we meet Johnny, who is now an owner of a newly acquired hotel with no guests, and offers us rooms due to our previous endeavours. To search for the robes, we got to get some beachwear to access the waterfront, and we do this by participating in minigames to earn cards to exchange for them. We play Pirates Rampage, where we aim to hit targets, as well as an alternative version of Queen's Blood, which is puzzles. After getting our beachwear, we enter the waterfront to see the robes are minding their own business. Back at the hotel, Aerith asks what colour her materia is to Red, which it is nothing, but it used to be white. Red says that materia is formed from the livestream itself, orbs infused with knowledge and memories, meaning the Whispers took them back in Midgar, those memories being extremely important to Aerith. To lift our spirits, we head to the beach with Tifa, where we also need beachwear. This time we participate in events like free-for-all soccer, returning wheelies to their original locations, finding cactuars around the area, and even playing the piano, making everyone beach ready. Surprisingly, Hojo makes an appearance, who's here for a rather special show. Your brothers down there are having a little get together, he says to Cloud. He then proceeds to unleash a mechanical Nautilus from the ocean, releasing the same monsters from those seen on the boat. We deal with the fiends and the machine until it eventually fires subject retrieval missiles and abduct us one by one, until Yuffie saves the day with Johnny by creating clones disguised as bombs. With that, Hojo leaves and we call it a day. Our time at Costa del Sol is up as we must follow the robes who are now moving through Mount Corel, and Yuffie also ends up joining the party, concluding Chapter 6. Scaling up the mountain, we would find the Turks dropping off robes, and they also decide to deploy a Valkyrie on us equipped with rotary cannons and flamethrowers. Weak to wind and lightning, we use Aerith's arcane walls to double our spell usage to take it down. In the Shinra building, Rufus is discussing the Magnus Materia project with the directors. There have been simultaneous energy spikes detected in Marco reactors around the world. It has stemmed from the arrival of life forms known as weapons, who appear when the planet is in danger, and each one of them carries an enormous orb of materia, and their goal is to capture one of these weapons. We're now back as Zack in a secluded area when someone knocks at the door. Elmira, Aerith's mother who wants to take her back home. Zack asks her what's happened, to which she says the world is ending, at least that's what everyone else is saying, panning over to a huge rift in the sky. Back at Mount Corel, we make it into the Marco reactor and witness the weapon with our own eyes. Following the robes, we reach a dead end. The bridge needs to be lowered. Barrett, familiar with the area, says the controls are located at the very top of the cliff, only accessible going through the abandoned mines. The robes, impatient, dive off the edge to move closer to their goal, when Cloud almost does the same. Not in a fit state of mind, he stays with Aerith and Red, while Tifa, Barrett and Yuffie make their way to the control room and encounter a mutated bird trying to feast upon a nest of chicks directly on the control center. Yuffie's ninjutsu comes in handy, allowing us to equip the fire element for bonus damage, and conveniently having the poison materia equipped helped even further, after assessing the monster to find out it was weak to poison. We save the chicks and one of them reminds us of a certain someone. We then enable the controls for the others to pass through, and meeting back up as a group, we enter Corel, where Barrett is not welcome, insulted by the people as we walk around the town. Tifa quickly wants to pop into the clinic, as it was the one she was taken to after what happened in Nibelheim. Entering it, Cloud sees Sephiroth and begins to swing his sword at him, only to collide with Barrett, then to reveal a group of black robes behind him. A warm welcome for Barrett and Tifa from Dr. Sheeran. He says he has been running tests on the robes and a substance he's never seen before turned up. He asks for a blood sample from Cloud due to him being a soldier, but he refuses. Sheeran suspects they're soldiers suffering from cellular degradation. He does what he can for most of the robes, but some of them go to the saucer, which is our next destination. Before taking the cable cart up to the saucer, we urge Barrett to discuss why everyone is treating him awfully. Like they sold him out for money, but that isn't like him. He reveals Corel was a poor town until they learned about the miracle of Marco from Shinra. A vote was held with his best friend Dine, who was opposed to it, as their ancestors risked their lives to maintain the mines. But Barrett says no one sees a future in coal, and why break our backs working harder and harder when they're taking home less year after year, even urging that his daughter will have a better life if Marco is introduced to the town. 2 years later, the reactor was finished. Everyone was ecstatic. Then one day, the reactor exploded and Shinra came to town, burned everything, and innocent people in their homes. They did this to craft a story that it was all the work of a local insurgent group, but never once did a villager went near the reactor. In the end, Barrett blames himself due to his push for the reactor, concluding Chapter 7. The Golden Saucer, a place of fun with all its events and attractions. We get quite the introduction and get challenged by the park director Dio in a game of 3D Brawler, another minigame. However, we'll save the details for it later as it is tied to future trophies. We get the win and he gives us a golden passport to try out all the attractions around the saucer. Even though we're following the robes, the group casts a vote in favour for having a break, to which again Cloud sees Sephiroth. Noticing he's not alright, the group recommends Cloud to lie down, so he goes with Barrett to book some rooms, where we meet an employee called Kate Sith.
What do we have here? A man with a rain cloud over his head. So how about a reading to clear those somber skies? Whether it be dark or bright, I'll read your future right. Just let me go shooting the messenger, eh?
This some kind of toy?
You lads, eyes up here. Look, Kate Sith, fortune teller extraordinaire. Put it there.
It's a toy, all right. Pretty lifelike, though.
Come on, pal. Give us a smile. The gold saucer's meant to be a happy place filled with happy people, don't you know? So show us those pearly whites.
Back off. You coming?
Who helps us book a room at the hotel despite it being full. He ends up cancelling a pre-booked room with some database hacking, which turns out to be the rooms for a member of the Shinra director, as well as the Turks. Barrett goes for a walk while Cloud lays down to rest, and we're back to Zack taking care of a comatose Cloud and Aerith until he goes downstairs to join Elmira and Marlene to eat. He asks why someone has been sneaking around the house lately. She replies it was Biggs who was dropping off food and he must take precautions as his face is on wanted posters, revealing everyone else from Avalanche being crossed off. Marlene is upset that no one will be coming back, and to make her happy, Zack goes out to find Biggs. Cloud then wakes up to a knock on the door. It's Tifa, and she asks us if we want to accompany her around the park, where we'll be able to participate in a variety of minigames to earn points, then exchange them for collector's items that will be for a later trophy. We cut over to Barrett reminiscing of Marlene in the central area, when he notices a figure with a gun for an arm, who he proceeds to follow. Back to Cloud and Tifa, we play mini-games such as Galactic Survivors and G-Bike, as well as noticing Jessie's portrait in the theatre where they reminisce their time with her. As we're about to get onto the Skywheel, there's been a major incident at the Coliseum, a shooting in the lobby, and that a man with a gun for an arm was the perpetrator according to Kate Sith. Arriving at the scene, Dio explains what happened and that even the cameras were shot down, meaning there's no evidence other than eyewitnesses. We explain that it can't possibly be Barrett, only for him to show us a wanted poster of us. He gives us an ultimatum: find the true perpetrator in 24 hours and he'll declare us all innocent, or we'll be delivered to Shinra. Making sure we don't make a break for it, he puts a tracker on our arm. We're then guided by Kate Sith to the Dust Bowl, also known as Corel Prison, where the culprit was last spotted. He describes it as a nasty place, in which it's true, as we're ambushed and knocked out. Waking up, we're introduced to Gus, who says he has a man with a gun for an arm locked away, but we need to do something for him first, and that is to win the Chocobo Cup. To make sure we commit to it, he also locks our friends up. We'd see Billy again with his Chocobo chocobo Pico, and it's not strong enough to race just yet. We need to find greens to feed Pico to make him stronger, and by completing more minigames like Desert Rush as well as side quests, we would be rewarded the greens. We get ready for the race by applying gear to Pico that increases his stats in some way. As the race is being broadcasted, it turns out one of the Shinra directors, Palmer, is watching it with Rude, who gets a phone call from Elena tracking someone in the desert. We demolish the competition by getting the balloons that increase our top speed and making use of the boost pads around the map to win the Chocobo Cup. With that, Gus tells us by following his vultures they'll lead us to the scrapyard where the prisoner is tied up. We stumble across Barrett in the wasteland. We ask him to talk to us and he reveals he knows the man who killed all of those people, Dine. 4 years ago, after the explosion at the Corel reactor, him and Dine went to check it out, and on their way back they witnessed Shinra burning the village down, and got caught up in the crossfire. Barrett holds on to Dine to prevent him from falling into the abyss, but with bullets penetrating his arm, he can't hold on any longer. He managed to get away bleeding out when Dr. Sheeran patched him up. As there was no way of saving his arm, he made the call instead of having the normal prosthetic, and resigned himself to the fact that Dine had died. Given his past, it is likely the reason as to why Dine shot all those people to get back at Shinra. A hopeful Barrett wants to talk to him alone to figure it out. In the scrapyard, an insane Dine is strapped to the chair talking to his family Marlene and Eleanor. Barrett helps him out when Dine notices Cloud. Angered that Barrett still lives on Shinra Gill, a battle between the two commences. Barrett surrenders. Dine exclaims all the lives he took was just to fill the void in his heart his family had left, and Barrett says he can visit Marlene. With all what had happened that day, thinking everyone was gone, Barrett managed to save her, and she's been the reason for him to continue. Dine frustrated that he took everything from him, and Barrett tries to reason with him that they can go see Marlene right now, but Dine doesn't want his daughter to see what he's become with all the blood on his hands. When suddenly, Shinra troops begin to invade the area. Dine guns them down while they return fire. Dropping down to Barrett, he tells them to live with the guilt and sees his family before passing away. More Shinra military arrive from the sky, dropping a mech operated by Palmer for us to deal with. Staggering it causes it to flip over, allowing us to use Dolphin Flurry Limit Break to wear it down. We retreat to Barrett, who is mourning the death of his friend, when Dio suddenly appears with an all-terrain vehicle. He says the device he put on our arm was used to eavesdrop. He declares Barrett innocent, and by way of apology, he gifts us the vehicle, allowing us to flee from Shinra. In the Shinra building, Director Reeve changes our wanted poster to different people, and Rufus wants more surveillance on Aerith, as it's a dream of his to see the promised land. And he gets a surprising visit from Glenn, but who is he really? Back to Zack, he's looking for Biggs when he notices a loud explosion occurs in the distance. Deciding to go check it out, he finds him there, concluding Chapter 8. Kate Sif's decided to join us, and as we know nothing about him, we ask who he really is, considering he's a robot. He claims he's a 9-to-5 nobody at a small Shinra subsidiary. With no leads on where the Black Robes are, Kate Sif says there's another rundown reactor nearby. With this vehicle at our disposal, it meant exploring more of the Corel region that was originally blocked off, allowing me to continue Johnny's side quest that has 4 trophies tied to it. His side quest is us essentially improving his hotel by completing various tasks for his treasure trove. A total of 88 tasks will need to be completed, and we'll follow up on this later, but for now, we unlock 2 trophies for donating 10 and 30 items to the trove. Eventually, we would reach Gungaga, an overgrown jungle with a village located deep within, where we would be ambushed by the local villagers. A girl seems to recognize Cloud, but says she mistook him for someone else. However, she does seem to recognize Kate Sif. She introduces herself as Cisne, and we tell her we're here to study the reactor. She recommends us to take a rest before heading out. Cloud notices Aerith entering a house where he also tags along, and the villagers ask if Cloud know their son, Zack Fair, as he's a soldier as well. A headache for Cloud, he does not know anyone with that name. They mention that Aerith looks like the girl who Zack was always talking about, but they haven't heard from him for several years, despite him always writing to them before. We take our leave, and Aerith elaborates further on Zack, her first love. And this is the place he grew up, so when she saw someone who looks like him, she wanted to ask. Tifa joins us, asking her if she had any news, to which, nothing. Cloud decides to call him a loser for leaving her out on the cold, and that it's been so long, he's probably dead. Cloud has another headache. Apologizing, he decides to go lie down while the girls talk in private. that after what he said, it proves he doesn't know Zack, which strikes both Tifa and Aerith as odd. We then wake up to a loud noise coming from the reactor, and the only assumption that it is a weapon. Cisne says they've been hearing the noise for a few days, and they try to investigate, but they can't because of weird black wisps. Whispers, an arbiter of fate. They appear when destiny is about to be altered and ensure it maintains its intended course. Even though we had already changed it once before, perhaps now they preside over a new fate. But how does Cisne know about the whispers, as we should be only able to see them? Making it to the reactor, we encounter the whispers, but they are different to the ones we know, especially when Cloud sees Sephiroth emerge from them. While in the skies above the Gungaga region, a Shinra transport unit is flying over to the reactor with a few things at its disposal. Following the whispers deep into the reactor, there's a whirlpool of them and the appearance of Shinra who drop a crane intended to capture the weapon, as well as dropping a Mako-chugging monster for us to deal with that enhances itself, but we manage to finish it off with an Ascension limit break before it becomes too much of a problem. However, the problem is all this Mako is too much for Cloud, making him unfit to fight, which allows the Shinra director Scarlet to get the upper hand in the fight. The explosion is heard back at town, causing Aerith, Tifa and Yuffie to head to the reactor. Slaughtering through Shinra troops, they arrive and fight Scarlet while the others retreat. Destroying both weapons on each arm allows us to target Scarlet herself. However, with the appearance of the weapon, she decides to go operate the crane to capture it. Tifa tries to put a stop to this, but Scarlet's a bit insane with her methods. Cloud runs to go help Tifa, but Sephiroth influences him a bit too much.
Let that righteous anger guide you. Cloud, don't let her fool you. She has no scar.
You have no scar.
She's not
You're not Tifa. You can't be.
We've been over this. I do have a scar. I showed you, remember?
Liar.
All right, look.
Those we hate. Those we love. Those we fear. Jenova will become anyone to fool her prey.
Don't do this!
But I'm no fool.
right. Look.
The weapon takes Tifa through the livestream, where she witnesses a war the planet is waging. She sees important memories from her childhood with Cloud, to even Sephiroth trying to kill the weapon. Her most important figures in her life encourage her to come back. However, Cloud can be seen walking away with Sephiroth. After some time, the weapon would arise from the Marco pool, returning Tifa to the group, and they would go back to Cisne. The next day, Tifa wakes up and asks Cloud if he remembers how their parents used to tell them that when a person died, their spirit would cross Mount Nebel. He does, but they all knew it was a story to scare them from climbing the mountain. Tifa wanted it to be true, as she did not want to think her mum was just gone, and that her friends said they'd help find her, so up the mountain they went. But they ran off, says Cloud, to which Tifa does not know, having hit her head hard when she fell off the cliff, messing up her memory. She only knew what the others had told her. Cloud questioning her, she says that they told her Cloud egged her on, and after experiencing the livestream, she knows this is not true, and that he urged her to come back.
You stayed when I needed you most. If that's not a hero, then I don't know what is.
I'm no hero. What kind of hero falls off a cliff with the person he's trying to save and pushes him into a pool of Mako? Sometimes, I don't even know who I am. I forget things everyone else remembers just fine, and know things I've got no right knowing. It's like there's different people inside of me. And the worst part is, I can't even tell where they end and I begin.
Go on.
Soldier cells degrade. I think that's what's happening to me. That I'm falling apart.
That's not going to happen to you. You saved me before. Now it's my turn.
A sit down with the group to discuss Tifa's experience, it seems that these whispers are associated with Sephiroth and are going against the livestream. To learn more about the planet, Red tells us we should visit his hometown, Cosmo Canyon, a place for planetary energies and ancient wisdom. Cisne tells us that a free flyer pilot who works out of an old airstrip nearby should be able to get us to our destination. Before that, the rest of Gongaga is to be explored. I would go on to the Proto Relic quest, unlocking 2 trophies, one for dealing 300% or more damage to a staggered enemy by using Tifa's Unbridled Strength into Omni Strike combo, and the other for obtaining the Proto Relic in the Gongaga region. Travelling to the airstrip, a note has been left that it says if we need a ride, we need to send up smoke to alert the pilot. After enough time, he arrives and introduces himself as Sid Highwind.
Hold on tight now, you hear? Fall out and you're on your own.
Here we go! We're flying!
No shit, kid. Who do you think I am?
I don't know. Who?
President and pilot of Bronco Airlines, Sid Highwind. Pleasure having you aboard.
Meanwhile, in the Shinra building, Roche has volunteered himself to be part of Hojo's experiment, concluding Chapter 9.
Hey, guys! It's me! I'm back! Nanaki? I can't believe it. It really is you. We were so worried. Welcome home.
Whoa!
Now, why don't you go pay your respects to fellow Bugenhagen? Come on. You can let them through. They're good people. I promise. After all, they're the reason I'm here.
Making it to Cosmo Canyon, it's a warm welcome for Red, or should I say Nanaki as the village calls him. Before they let us in, they check us against a wanted poster, but thankfully since it's been changed, we're allowed in. Following Nanaki, he reveals he was to become a Watcher of the Veil before being abducted by Shinra, and that now he is back, he plans to serve his village once more. Barrett questions why he's been playing an old man act instead of using his normal voice, to which he replies he wanted to be treated as an equal. He then introduces us to Bugenhagen, who teaches planetology. We look at the various devices around his observatory when we listen to his phonograph that allows us to hear the inner voice of the planet, explaining that it sounds like the weapons we've seen and heard before, but Bugenhagen downplays our encounters with them, even recommending Tifa to see a doctor for Marco poisoning. He then invites us to a lesson to basic planetology, as we seem to be unfamiliar with it. It was from its soil, so teeming with life, that mankind was born. Like all living things, man is fated to die. What happens next is that the body withers and returns to the planet. The mind, spirit and soul also return to the Great River, where all intertwine and circle the planet without end. A circle of continuous convergence and divergence. The ceaseless ebb and flow that is the life stream, the blood that runs through our planet's veins, and if that essence was to be depleted, the planet would cease to exist. So the Marco being produced by Shinra is spiritual energy from the planet and used to fuel machines, meaning that energy can no longer fulfill its true purpose. Tifa says does it actually fade away, and that what if it doesn't? What if it just returns to the live stream in a different form, and if it's possible? In which Bugenhagen calls it a novel theory, and for us to be taken to the seminar room for further guidance. Cloud asks him if making the spiritual energy stronger, would it prevent the outcome of the planet dying? Bugenhagen snaps back, "Why are you asking me such things?" He apologizes and has realized he is somewhat stuck in the past, and that we've entered an era in which humanity exerts unprecedented influence over its environs. And as both the planet and society evolve, so too must science, and yet it seems that he cannot, thinking of himself too much of an old dog to learn any new tricks. We make our way to the seminar room and find Tifa sharing her experience about the planet's struggle until it's time for the River of Lights, where attendees open their hearts to one another, then set lanterns aloft in honor of people they've lost, forming a veritable live stream in the sky. Bugenhagen then wants Nanaki to undertake a trial deep underground to prove himself as a Watcher of the Veil. Nanaki's parents were also Watchers. He says when their village came under attack, his mother fought with courage and laid down her life to save them, while his father turned tail and ran. Before the trial, Bugenhagen would like Barrett to accompany Nanaki to ensure his safety. We would travel deeper into the cave, learning about the Gi. They were responsible for the invasion of the village and why Nanaki's mother died. The history of the Veils intertwined with the Gi, as they first came to these lands many millennia ago, and that a sanctuary was built to ensure that they never escaped. The cave we're in serves as a boundary between our world and that of the Gi. If they ever seized control, the canyon would be doomed. A certain Watcher recalled a vulnerability. Since time was of the essence, he entered the cave without reinforcements, as he had feared it was teeming with Gi, ready to descend upon the village. Determined to protect the Veil, he pounced from one foe to the next, felling all who dared oppose him. In the cave's deepest point, we encounter the leader of the Gi, YOSHITAKA, who fights us immediately due to their hatred of being driven to extinction and cursed to roam as spirits. This fight is crazy as it can inflict curses on you, halving your HP and MP, depleting your ATB, and even inflicting doom, making you watch your life counter quickly go down. Thankfully, we were able to defeat it in time. Proceeding onwards, Nanaki would find out this Watcher, turned to stone from the poisoned arrows of the Gi, was his father, Seto, the one who defended the village, as after all it was his mother and father who asked Bugenhagen to seal off the cave. While they strove to keep the Veil safe, they fought even harder to protect Nanaki. His mother never told him the truth, because if she did, he would have attempted to seek out his father. Bugenhagen is apologetic to us after dismissing our emphatic warnings about the planet and weapons, his eyes grown blind to new possibilities, so he urges Nanaki to continue his adventure and seek the truths of the world so he does not become inured to his own ignorance like himself. A mist then starts to form around us. The true YOSHITAKA appears and asks us to join him. Leading us through a secret stoneway, Cloud notices Sephiroth until we reach a boat bound for the village of the Gi. We're urged to keep quiet as anything that reaches the planet's ears in due time reaches those of the Cetra, claiming that unfortunately the Cetra are not tolerant people.
Am I intolerant too? I'm Cetra.
You are indeed one of them, by lineage alone. You know not of their history. That has been lost to time.
Their history?
Consider your ignorance a blessing. The Cetra's past is fraught with horror and sorrow.
We're then back to Zack, where Biggs is discussing his last moments when it wasn't. The next thing he knows, the wind picks up and he's somewhere else, but nobody can tell him who found him or how he got there. Zack also says a similar thing happened to him. With a whole army unloading on his position, the wind starts picking up, then suddenly he's alone. Walking along, Biggs has set up posters for people to join Avalanche to fight back Shinra for the destruction of Sector 7. They also discuss Cloud, where Biggs knows him for his mercenary work and the time they hit Reactor 1, but he cannot recall when it happened when Zack asked how long he has known him for. With only one person seen at the gathering for Avalanche, she downplays the idea of joining them, but forgetting her backpack with travelling supplies, perhaps she did want to join after all. Disheartened by the lack of recruits, Biggs turns to leave, but Zack stops him and offers words of comfort.
It's up to us to find our own purpose. I mean, who says it's gotta be one way? Everyone's sitting back, acting like the world's doomed, but the future's not set in stone. We're not powerless. So long as we don't lose sight of what's important. You know, what matters most of all when the going gets tough. I don't know, hopes, dreams, maybe? Something like that. So long as we've got those. And hold on tight and never let go.
Like this?
Like your life depends on it.
The world's lucky to have you. It's a start.
Returning back to the house, he tells Marlene that he met Biggs and said he'll visit soon. She asks if he said anything about her dad or Tifa, to which Zack forgot to ask. Disappointed, Elmira reassures her that they'll be able to meet soon, as they're headed to the same place. Going upstairs to care for Aerith and Cloud, he thinks the reason why he survived against the army was Aerith's doing, and gently holds her hand, where we then transition back to Aerith, who seemingly senses it on the boat. The Gee's spirits are condemned to linger, as they are not bound to the planet. She rejects them because you have to come from the life stream to return to it, meaning they're invincible. Their wish is to be released, by using their most sacred treasure, the black materia, where they imbued it with their desire for freedom. After an eternity, the materia began to stir, meaning their salvation was near, yet the Cetra trespassed upon their lands and stole the treasure that would grant them deliverance. Therefore, they would like us to retrieve the black materia, the key to their oblivion. It is said the orb lies within a place of Cetra worship, in which Kate Sith has an idea on where it's located. Barrett reckons this black materia has potential to wreak some serious havoc, meaning we shouldn't give it to them. Cloud mentions Norse Sephiroth and asks if anyone else sensed him, to which no one else did. Kate Sith says if we can get him to a Shinra terminal, he should be able to find a document he once stumbled across mentioning of its existence. He asks Bugenhagen where the local Shinra terminal is, and turns out he tinkered with it a lot, rendering it completely unusable. A guard then interrupts us, saying that a black robe has stumbled into the village. We go to investigate and all his words are Nibelheim, when Kate Sith bets that it has a terminal. However, Tifa says it had a terminal. Kate Sith might be weird as he puts it, but he's going to prove that we can trust him, so we head back to the airstrip to signal Sid to travel to Nibelheim. Before that, I would obtain the proto-relic in the Cosmo Canyon region for a trophy, by playing this mini-game that involves deploying robots of certain elements to take on enemies. Once we land at Nibelheim, it concludes chapter 10, and on our way to the village we encounter another black robe, causing Cloud problems, this time Sephiroth asking him for the black materia. With the region to be explored, I would unlock a trophy for maxing the Moogle Emporium, which meant I had finished every Moogle intel and could buy more skill points to improve the party. Arriving at the village, we're surprised to see it fully rebuilt, identical to what it was before the incident. A local manager tells us the village is now being used by Shinra as a treatment center for those with Mako poisoning. Kate Sith goes to use the terminal. While we wait, we have a wander around the town when Cloud is bombarded with memories of Zack, realizing he was with him on that mission 5 years ago. We check in on Kate, and turns out he only has limited access on this terminal, and he needs to access the one in Shinra Manor as it should be free of restrictions. However, to enter the manor, we need permission from Deputy Commissioner Murasaki, who is up surveying the reactor. Meanwhile, in the Shinra building, Heidegger alerts Rufus that the Nibelheim survey team was ambushed by Wutai, and whatever they are up to has begun. Splitting the group up, we head up Mount Nibel with Cloud, Tifa, and Yuffie while the others stay behind. On our way up, we come across the river, causing head pain for Cloud, having memories of Zack, and that the bridge broke, he fell, being swept away by the current, and that he may be dead. Realizing Tifa never forgotten why she's been acting weird, she simply did not want to upset him. Forgetting his friend, he thinks the degradation is getting to him further, and she reassures him it'll be okay. Cloud says Aerith deserves to know this information, and Tifa asks if she can tell her since they're close. Continuing onwards, we'd come across a familiar sight.
Mako Spring.
Wait, so this whole thing's materia?
Wow, it's so much bigger.
Naturally formed materia. And look at the size of it. Astounding. For the Mako energy to condense into something like this, it must have taken an eternity.
Hey, we should get out of here. All this Mako's making me queasy.
Yeah, me too.
Arriving at the entrance of the reactor, Yuffie notices the dead Wutai soldiers. Breaking down, she considers the possibility of being at war and why she wasn't contacted, even though we're supposed to be in the middle of a ceasefire. We find the reactor in a messy state when the diabolic variant appears. It even clones itself and poisons our whole party, but with synergy abilities, we take it out. Deeper into the reactor, we come across the corpse of Murasaki. Yuffie then manages to contact Kate Sith through the terminal. We tell him what happened to Murasaki and are able to use his keycard remotely, which allows Kate Sith and the others to enter Shinra Manor, where they stumble across an AI program modeled after Hojo, who promptly sends the group plummeting into the Mako research facility. Taking advantage of Kate Sith's small size and summonable Moogle, we traverse through the facility by entering the vents and throwing boxes. Meaning the AI again, it releases a failed experiment upon us that has the capability of shapeshifting, becoming resistant to physical attacks if it takes too much damage, and vice versa with magical attacks. After successfully defeating the creature, we would make it back to Shinra Manor and regroup with the others, where we would meet Vincent Valentine.
Doesn't matter. Who are you?
Vincent Valentine. I'm...
Security. Why are you here? Be brief.
Your terminal.
We give him our ID, but as we're not Murasaki, he threatens us, explaining that Sephiroth is our enemy and we need vital information from the terminal to stop him. He allows us to enter and instructs us only to use the terminal. Waiting for Kate Sith to get the information, Cloud stumbles into the other room, suffering mentally while walking closer to 3 chambers. A muffled voice like Hojo's could be heard saying that it's tissue, hair, and blood. Vincent is not happy for us trespassing and transforms into a beast. His Chaos Flare and Primal Roars do a lot of damage to us, but with the summon of Bahamut arisen, we successfully defeat Vincent, where we would learn more information about him, as Kate Sith went through his file in the database. He's a former Turk, and the reason why he's down here is something to do with Sephiroth. We ask him to join us, but he returns to his room. We finally have the information about this Cetra temple, but K-Sith wants us to take a trip to the Gold Saucer, as we'll need a keystone to access it. On our way to the airstrip, we would encounter Roche again, and he's clearly struggling to whatever Hojo did to him. Upstaging him for a final time, he becomes one with the robes. A broadcast is made to the public by Glenn Lodbrok as a representative of Wutai's interim government, discussing how their inspectors were sent to investigate the development of living weapons within the Mako reactors that power people's homes, and that they were mercilessly slaughtered by Shinra. He would then hand the announcement to Wutai's commander, the Viceroy Saruf, who never made an appearance while the Shinra directors watched on. The Turks do not have any information on who the Viceroy is, but they do know that Glenn was a prototype ex-soldier, and that 15 years ago he was sent to a geological survey which ended in failure and led to his defection, then began seeking to forge connections with others who shared his anti-Shinra sentiments. Despite this possible declaration of war, their priority is still Aerith and the Promised Land. Before departing for the Gold Saucer, I would obtain the proto-relic in the Nebel region. This time I had to defeat several enemies for the trophy. At the airstrip, it turns out Sid knew Aerith's mother, Ilthana. Aerith tells him that she is unfortunately dead, and he recalls the time meeting her and decides to help Aerith by doing the right thing. Just before we leave for the Gold Saucer, Vincent boards the aircraft saying that he has unfinished business with Sephiroth, so we allow him to join us. Our flight is cut short as one of the engine blows. Thankfully, we land in the water, concluding chapter 11. Sid converts his Bronco aircraft into a boat, allowing us to navigate the oceans. Kate Sith follows up that the Gold Saucer used to be a museum, and according to company records, the keystone was last there, meaning we need to speak to Dio. Turns out he's having a Colosseum showdown with Don Corneo, and he'll give us the key if we partake in the showdown on his behalf. We agree and head to the hotel to rest up before the big day. Cloud visions Aerith in her house. Confused, he looks around to see the hotel room before going to sleep. Then Zack is seen taking care of Aerith and Cloud with Marlene. She says that it's better for Aerith to stay asleep because Cloud is sick, and that she'll die when she wakes up to a very scary man. Cloud tries to save her, but he doesn't make it in time, and if Cloud is sick, he can't save Aerith. She asks Zack to save Cloud, and he'd love to if he can. He asks her if she just had a bad dream, when we get a flashback to when Marlene met Aerith in Remake. She says no and that she saw it. He then asks her to describe what the scary man looks like, when she begins to describe the features of Sephiroth with his long grey hair. Zack tells Elmira he needs to leave for a bit to talk to someone about Cloud, and that if Aerith wakes up, she should not leave the house. Taking the motorcycle, he notices a note left from Biggs about their conversation with finding a purpose, and his is with Avalanche, meaning he's going to bomb Reactor 6. Zack didn't mean it like that, and runs back to tell Elmira. Remember how I mentioned how your side quests and conversations will affect some cutscenes? Well, this is it. Cloud wakes up from his rest to a knock on the door from Tifa, where she has tickets for the Loveless play, and then to ride the Skywheel after missing out on it before. We would unlock a trophy by participating and getting an S rank for our performance, a quick time event minigame, and Aerith finalizes the play with a heartful song. Aboarding the Skywheel, he asks her if she had told Aerith about him being friends with Zack, revealing she had, but she tells him she hasn't yet as it's a little complicated, and the two conclude the night sharing a moment. The next day above the skies of Corel, the Turks and Rufus discuss that on a long-standing theory, it's safe to assume the temple and the Promised Land are one and the same, also knowing that the keystone is to be awarded to the winners of today's event. Arriving at the Colosseum, we fight through several rounds of Don Corneo's minions before having to fight him and his pet Abzu, but our Bahamut's Giga Flare is too much for him. The victory is ours, and as soon as we're about to receive our prize, the Turks steal it. As we try to get it back, they throw it to Kate Sith, who runs off with it. The group splits up, meaning we must deal with Rude and Elena, as well as the appearance of Rufus, where we have to fight him individually. Playing patiently, I was able to counter and stagger him to half health when he called in his Dark Star. I responded with Bahamut, once again coming in clutch with Giga Flare. With Rude, Elena, and Rufus defeated, we chase after Cait Sith until he hands it over to Song, departing by helicopter. Betrayed by Cait Sith, the group abandons him, and we're unsure what our next move is, but thankfully Vincent knows which radio frequencies the Turks use, meaning we can find them once they get on comms. I decided to take a detour as Chadley had contacted me that the proto-relic in the Corel region could be obtained. This time I had to play Cactuar Crush with Yuffie and Aerith, where we must destroy a bunch of Cactuars who can either be weak to magical or physical attacks while being resistant to the other, meaning you need to know your abilities correctly to get through this minigame and get the highest score. After completing the last trial, I would have to defeat one last opponent to obtain the proto-relic for a trophy. I then also decided to do some chocobo racing at the Gold Saucer for another trophy by winning every single race before returning to Cid's ship to prepare to follow Shinra, and that would conclude Chapter 12. The Turks would eventually use the radio system and declare where the temple's coordinates are, and that an urban legend says whoever enters the temple has vanished and are never seen again. Hojo tells Rufus that this temple is not the promised land and looks behind to a group of black robes, calling it the beginning of the end, the celebration of the faithful, a watershed moment for all of mankind, and that the temple is merely a stage. With Shinra deep inside the Temple of the Ancients already, we must fight our way through dealing with them, and powerful monsters that lurk within. Transcend the environment by changing the gravity, jumping down waterfalls, and carefully navigating around the livestream's torrent, in which Aerith attempts to harness the livestream, causing the temple to shake, resulting in the group splitting up. Cloud's behaviour starts to change, as instead of going after them, he deems that the black materia is their priority, and that they'll be fine. His demeanour becomes more aggressive to the Shinra troops, leaving Barret and Tifa concerned. We then cross paths with Reno and Rude, who halt our tracks, forcing us to find a detour. On Aerith, Yuffie and Nanaki's side, they use Aerith's power to harness the livestream to manipulate the environment to its original state. However, this takes a toll on her mind and body, so Yuffie and Nanaki propose a short rest. Navigating deeper into the labyrinth, both groups come across the Turks, with Cloud, Barret and Tifa fighting Rude and Reno, while Aerith, Yuffie and Nanaki deal with Song and Elena. With the fight going in our favour, Elena would hold us at gunpoint, allowing Song to depart. Cloud smashes his sword into the floor, making it give way, leading to a reunion with everyone down below. He tries to execute the Turks, but his friends stop him from going any further. Barret reminds him that there's no time for this like he said, and that another one of them is still ahead of us. Pursuing Song into the lower tiers of the temple, we would witness a black robe become Sephiroth, piercing him. Returning fire, the black robe falls dead. Aerith, concerned for a wounded Song, he asks if this is the promised land, but she confirms it is not. He says that the pedestal is a key, and only an ancient can use it. He then takes his leave to make a report. Aerith raises her hand to the pedestal, and the entire room illuminates in response. Their paths forward now clear, the party proceeds to undertake their trials, as each member of the party head to a separate door, except for Cloud, who asks them to be quick. They are then accosted by memories of their past upon entering. Nanaki howls in anger as memories of his torturous time in Professor Hojo's lab come back. Tifa weeps for her late father, forced to relive his murder and the tragedy that befell her hometown 5 years ago. Yuffie witnesses memories of losing her friend Sonon. Barret relives his trauma of watching Corel Village crumble before his eyes. Aerith pleads for help, but her cries fall on deaf ears as her mother Ilfana fades away.
You know, if you think about it, life and death are just two sides of the same coin. Our bodies may disappear when we die, but our spirits still live on. We return to the planet, rejoin the life stream, and in time give rise to new life.
In time, yeah.
I get it, I really do. Knowing that the people we love aren't really gone, it doesn't make it any easier to let them go. It still hurts. So we can't just think of it as a homecoming, 'cause it's not that simple. We have all experienced pain. We all have our regrets. What we've done, what's been done to us, That's set in stone. The past is forever. But the future, even if it has been written, can be changed. It's true that the pain and the anger we carry can make us stronger. But at what cost? What toll does it take? I believe true strength doesn't come from any of that. True strength comes from our ability to forgive, to forge ahead in the hope of making things right. It comes from ourselves. So focus on the future, not the past. Do that, and not even Sephiroth will be able to stand in our way. Not even him.
Are you finished? Clock's ticking. Come on.
With the trials overcome, the corridor opens, allowing the party to continue their search for the black materia, where Cloud would have to undertake his trial, facing a challenge in the form of Sephiroth. Sorrow, anger, regret, guilt, nothing but empty words to Cloud, calling him his puppet. Cloud stabs him. Sephiroth tells him to fill his hollow heart with rage, and that may he burn the world to the ground, just as he did. The group watch in fear as Cloud, who has just killed a robed figure, and says he's not like him, and never will be. They reassure him they know, and he'll be okay. We would then reach the mural chamber, where the voices and imagery of the Cetra begin to speak. Though in time we triumphed over the calamity visited upon us by the stars, tragedy would nevertheless be our ultimate reward. For the children of man feared and envied us. Perhaps their enmity was seeded by our celestial adversary. Regardless, we had been forsaken by fate. Long ago a wound marred the northern lands, and to mend it did many venture forth, only to meet with disaster. A deceiver that stole the faces of the dead. With their voice did it sow the seeds of discord among our people, among the children of man. For the planet did we lay down our lives in battle, and in death return to her embrace. Yet our adversary did not, could not. Thus did it fall into a deep slumber, and its long silence of sleep it was given the name Genova. Heed well our warning of that which is to come, the reunion. When our adversary's scattered malignancy shall converge to plague the planet once more. It has been our sacred duty to protect the planet against any who would threaten it. The Gi, who with bitter prayer forged the black materia. So foul was the orb's magic that we knew that it once must be hidden, and that none might ever wield its terrible power. The black materia shall summon the destroyer of worlds. The meteor shall fall, sundering the skies and shattering the earth. All life shall perish. Yet Sephiroth will remain as he appears. His dominion shall reach into infinity. It shall encompass worlds unbound by fate and histories unwritten. These errant worlds all shall be one again. The reunion. He triggers the ancient gate, summoning the final guardian of the black materia, which we must kill to stay alive. We slay the demon gate, and Cloud desperately destroys the wall while the others watch. He walks closer to the black materia as it sits on a pedestal. Laughing manically, he begins to pick up the black materia. Aerith tells him to stop, but he picks it up, causing the temple to collapse on itself. A hesitant Cloud refuses to return it. However, Aerith reveals it is a fake, but he refuses to believe it. Cait Sith suddenly makes his appearance and lifts the pedestal to slowly prevent it from reaching its inevitable fall, while we make our escape with Vincent, who has secured an exit. Making our escape outside, we witness the temple vanish, and Cait Sith's here with a new body. The group welcome him back for his help. When Barret notices that Cloud still has the black materia despite what Aerith said, and throws it away, only for it to roll into the feet of Sephiroth. He picks it up, claiming it's the key to access the true counterpart hidden between worlds. He uses it, causing whispers and tendrils to spawn around him. Meanwhile, Hojo and Rufus watch from a helicopter. In the back, our Roche shakes and bleeds. The number of whispers is too much for the helicopter's stability, and they flee to safety. Cloud slowly stumbles towards Sephiroth. Dropping the black materia, he asks Cloud to bring it to him. Tifa interferes, causing him to drop the materia. Aerith picks it up and runs off. Tifa pleads with him to snap out of it when Sephiroth repeats and instructs Cloud to get it back. Cloud pushes Tifa away and follows Aerith along the tendrils.
The orb. Aerith.
Aerith!
The final chapter of the game, and we're back with Zack, who is in a dilemma. If he goes right, it will lead him to Hojo along with a potential cure for Cloud. If he goes left, it takes him to Reactor 6, which will get blown up along with Biggs unless he stops him. He decides to go to Hojo, in which a beam of light emits from the left. He arrives at the Shinra building only to be met with an entire platoon of soldiers. Aerith speaks to Cloud to wake him up from his wheelchair. Confused to what is happening, she calls it her dream. She tells him not to look up, but that means he has to, seeing a giant rift in the sky. The two explore Sector 5, and she has him choose some gifts for her, like this different Stamp the dog, and noticing a vendor store offering free sweets in which they try together. Aerith spots Sephiroth's feathers. She hears his voice. So this is where you've been hiding, in a world that has accepted its fate. Cloud exclaims what's ahead of them, and it's a photographer taking pictures of couples, but he only has one shot left in which they pose for. We then see what happens if Zack went to Reactor 6. It turns out the reactor is all out of Marco. Biggs tells him that the live stream is bone dry, and wonders what his purpose is anymore. Zack makes him know that he's important to people, but unfortunately Biggs is shot. Turning around, Zack notices Shinra troops, in which he makes an escape dropping down into the reactor. The photographer didn't take their picture, as they don't look like they're on a date, more like at a funeral. Cloud is still confused as what is going on, and Aerith says she'll tell him once they reach her favourite place. This time, Zack is seen sitting outside the church. He struggles to choose between Cloud, Aerith and Biggs until Sephiroth appears. Challenging him, Sephiroth drowns him with whispers. Determined not to give up, white whispers help him, and he finds himself in a void with peculiar flower petals guiding him along. Cloud and Aerith would then reach her favourite place, the church.
This is it, right? Our spot?
Bingo.
That was easy.
I told you it was obvious.
Well, you'll have to give me a harder one next time.
Oh? Next time?
I mean, why not?
Yeah. Why not? At least I know now. Where you and I stand, I mean. Thing is, Cloud, I really like you. But then, like can mean a lot of different things, can't it? Because there's liking, and then there's liking.
Seriously, what's going on? You've been weird all day.
I'm sorry. Whatever happens, don't blame yourself. Cloud, thank you. Sorry, I'll be okay. Here. Take it.
But your mom gave that to you.
This isn't about me, though. It's about saving the world. And you. So thank you, Cloud, for everything.
What is this?
It's been fun.
Eric!
As Cloud falls through what is seemingly the live stream, Sephiroth shows him the true nature of reality. When the boundaries of fate are breached, new worlds are born, like we saw when Zack went to Hojo and with Aerith at the Midgar Expressway. The planet encompasses a multitude of worlds, some quickly perish while some endure, yet even the most resilient worlds are doomed to fade. He shows Cloud that he will be part of the reunion. Unwilling to be a part of it, he slices through Sephiroth, who particulates. Cloud then lands in a forest with the white materia in hand. Sephiroth does not want that to be here and sends whispers for us to deal with. Then these white whispers appear as well as Aerith. Cloud tells her that he can feel Sephiroth watching them. She agrees and tells him to forget about him and to focus on himself. He tells her that he is fine, but she shakes her head in disagreement. She wants him to focus on himself, the one she's been trying to find. The real him, and to leave Sephiroth to her as she can handle him. He's planning to use the black materia and he has to be stopped by a Cetra. And she's the last. The white materia begins to glow. She thanks him for returning it and gives her empty materia to him. He looks into it before realizing Aerith is walking away, asking her to come back. White's whispers begin to swarm Cloud, preventing him from getting any further. We're taken to reality, seeing the events that have passed while being unconscious, from falling into the abyss at the temple to Barret picking Cloud up and journeying onwards. They try to wake him up until Aerith is seen walking alone. Cloud eventually wakes up and the crew tell him that Aerith has gone to an ancient city that lies just beyond the woods, which houses a very special altar the Cetra built, and that she was the only person who can stop Sephiroth, but unfortunately the group got separated in the fog. Seeing whispers in the distance, we follow them. Everyone speaks to Cloud, and one conversation I'll highlight is that from Kate Sith, who apologizes for giving the key to Shinra. As if the rumors were true about disappearing, he'd rather have something happen to them than us. We would then find the forgotten capital swarming with whispers.
What is all this?
It's the end!
Sephiroth.
Good, Aerith. Pray. It's upon us. The reunion. When worlds merge. When spite and sorrow are harvested to feed the planet.
Just like up Midgar Express Highway, whispers block our path. Attempting to penetrate the barrier does nothing until seeing they respond to Aerith's name. It opens just enough, allowing Cloud to enter the planet's sanctuary, where Aerith could be heard praying at the altar to the planet and faithful stewards to lend her their strength. Having never learned how to pray, she pleads them to help keep everyone safe.
desires are empty. Just like you.
Cloud, it's okay.
Aerith.
I'll kill you!
Aerith!
And so it begins. A confluence of worlds and emotions. Loss, chief among them. It engulfs fleeting moments of joy, transforming them into rage, sadness, hatred. Never have I felt them so keenly.
I got this.
However, you'll never see the truth with such clouded eyes.
Shut up!
After all, you're just a puppet.
A fight ensues against Jenova as it takes on multiple forms. We use everyone of the party to take it down. As the group wait to see what is going to happen next, rainbows and white whispers surround them when Zack is running in this white void and comes across Cloud. Knocking him on the shoulder, he's transported with him to an astral plane where they fight Sephiroth. Just as we're about to attack, he banishes Zack to another world. Just as worlds unite, so too do they part. Sephiroth alone at last with Cloud becomes a monstrosity that is Sephiroth reborn. We slash its chest, causing it to send whispers above. The group having noticed that Cloud is gone, Sephiroth reborn comes down among them and summons a Bahamut whisper for them to deal with. Zack finds himself next to a patch of flowers and notices the yellow flower to symbolize reunion, seemingly knowing Aerith has some control and he has to fight Sephiroth reborn in a world on the brink of destruction as the meteor arrives. We fight it through several rounds with everyone. With a barrier in place, we must use our elemental materia to weaken it further. Despite this, he's still not dead, as Sephiroth returns in his human form against Cloud. Throwing whispers, they're repelled by white ones as Aerith appears, turning the astral plane into a white void. Instructing Cloud that they'll end it together, Sephiroth having underestimated her, and a relentless fight begins. Aerith thanks Cloud for seeing what he did back there, and he asks her to thank him later, as it's not over yet. Sephiroth taunts him if that any of this is real or just a fever dream, and he replies not to even bother, that it won't work on him anymore. Sephiroth unsurprisingly does a lot of damage, from using Octaslash, piercing and binding us, to a rotational whisper cannon. However, Aerith's 2 limit breaks keep us steady, healing wind to restore HP, and the planet's protection to block physical attacks. A finishing touch concludes the fight, but Sephiroth laughs, knowing it's not over, her and flies away. Returning to the others where everybody's waiting, Aerith's spirit returns to the planet. Zack accepts his fate before falling into the white void once again. We then see Aerith laying motionless, transitioning to the group running over to her. However, as Cloud approaches, his point of view is different, with the position she lays in, the white whispers and rainbows. He holds her and asks her to wake up, in which she does, and after some time, the group sit around the lake and mourn.
Can't stay here forever. We'd best get moving.
Yep. Sounds good.
I'll see you off.
Tifa. Come on.
In the Shinra building, Glenn is talking to Rufus as to why the Viceroy Saruf did not show up. Rufus realized that the war is nothing but a ploy to distract him from Sephiroth. Applauding him, Sephiroth reveals himself, that his plan and the Promised Land will become reality. Frustrated at only an imitation, he guns down the robed figure. Meanwhile, in the live stream, the weapons can be seen fighting Sephiroth's whispers. Zack then wakes up in the church thinking the possibility that was all a dream, but it was too real. He recalls Sephiroth's words, "Just as worlds unite, so too do they part. But who's to say they cannot unite again?" Meanwhile, in Nibelheim, the Black Robes seem to be moving to the reactor. In an open field, the crew are repairing Cid's ship, still saddened from the event that happened. Cloud looks on over, seeing Aerith's spirit walking about. Cid asks them what she actually did, and unable to answer, the airship blows a gust of smoke, and is now ready for takeoff. She walks along while Yuffie, Tifa and Nanaki weep. He says her name, like he senses she is there. Cloud gazes into the empty materia and puts it away. He then discovers he somehow has the black materia, causing him head pain. He mutters a reunion and places it into his sword. Approaching the airship, he hears Aerith's voice asking him to promise not to look up, revealing the rift in the sky. He tells this to the others, however they look up into a normal looking sky. He asks them not to let it get to them, and Barrett questions him, "Don't let what get to me?" Cloud says it's not real, just an illusion. He claims that Sephiroth is hiding up north and it's because of Soldier's intuition. A concerned Barrett and Tifa look at each other. Barrett says that they trust him, and that they have everything riding on this, and that's a load he best be ready to carry. Cloud tells him not to worry, and he can handle it, but they both still look concerned as they board the ship. Before boarding himself, Aerith tells him to take care. They share some final words that she'll put everything into her prayers so she can stop the meteor, and he'll stop Sephiroth. He boards the plane, and they soar off north, concluding chapter 14. With the main story completed, I now had chapter select, meaning I could go anywhere, as well as the addition of hard mode being unlocked. So it was time to move on to the last remaining trophies, like Johnny's Seaside Inn, where I donated 60 items to the treasure trove. To prepare myself for hard mode, I would do the remaining side content, like mastering all weapon abilities and limit breaks, including those found in folios. Throughout my playthrough, I would come across chests that have a purple light. This means that there is a weapon inside for one of the party members. If you manage to miss them during exploration, they usually appear within the shops at towns, allowing you to buy them instead. In addition, if I recall, one of Aerith's weapons is locked to a side quest. With all weapons at my disposal and using their respective ability numerous times till they were mastered, this meant I could use the abilities without using the weapon bound to it, and by leveling up my party through the side quests and battle intel around the map, I would have enough skill points to allocate them for the purple abilities and limit breaks in the folios. Next up, I would unlock a trophy for playing all 6 Piano Outreach Association songs well enough to receive remuneration. A piano minigame where we use both analog sticks in rhythm with the song. Each region has their own sheet of music, and by getting an A rank in all of them, it would unlock the trophy. I quite enjoyed this minigame. There was only one that caught me off guard, which was 2 legs nothing to it. I then went to the Musclehead Coliseum at the Gold Saucer to complete fights for rewards. These fights are essentially identical to Chadley's Combat Simulator, and there is a lot to do. It does mix itself up with doubles and 6-man fights, meaning you're split into 2 groups, so you should plan your party accordingly, especially when you must deal with stronger fiends. It would also make a great area to gain experience points, unlocking 2 trophies, one for completing all the fights at the Coliseum, and the other for attaining level 70 with a character. A total of 36 side quests need to be completed throughout the regions, and I only had a few remaining, with the last side quest being focused on beating high scores within the Golden Saucer. This would follow up on 3D Brawler, a reaction-based game. The hardest opponent is Sephiroth. Luckily, this minigame can be cheesed by pressing the pause button just before they're about to attack, allowing you to identify what move to dodge with, because it is a little hard to distinguish which move is which. So with the pause method and one final hit on Sephiroth, the trophy would be mine. I'd also like to highlight some side quests, like helping Sam on the dog, a simple delivery quest that is enhanced by the conversations of the characters and music. Did anyone else enjoy this tune? Music.
It's on you.
There's also this side quest, which was annoying. This lady has lost her chickens and she would like us to go get them. Sounds simple until you're given this feed clanger, as they like the sound of it. You throw the box and the chickens walk to it, then you must pull it away before it gets too close. Yet this clanger seems to be physics based, meaning sometimes it hardly moves when you pull it back, meaning the chicken will get to it and lose interest, which means they'll start walking back to their original location if you don't quickly get the clanger back out. You have to walk backwards, but if you move too far, the clanger follows, meaning the chicken can lose interest if it's too far. Then there's also the second guessing of where you need to go, so pay attention to the minimap because you don't really want to turn the camera around. You get the first chicken back, but guess what? There's more. This last chicken is outside the gates of Gungaga, thinking, do I really need to guide this chicken all the way back by doing this? It's like the developers knew this quest was frustrating and played it as a joke, and thankfully gave us a monster to fight instead to finish the quest. What's even more crazy is the story conclusion.
So allow me to whip you up some of Grandma Kazra's famous grilled chicken. Say goodnight. I don't think I've ever met such nice young people. Come back anytime, you hear?
Yep, I'm pretty sure that's the game over music as she turns them into a meal. I actually went back to play this quest out of curiosity to see if it was a skill issue, but was it updated? Look at the differences of how much distance the box covers. It's probably the camera angle, and it really was a skill issue. Remember those proto-relics I collected? These were tied to Gilgamesh, the Blazeman of Legend. The proto-relics turned out to be his Genji armor, and he had been trying to get them since the first one we collected. We would have to complete the Tempering Trial before fighting Gilgamesh. These trials consist of fights against 2 summons at once, like Alexander and Odin. Gilgamesh fight is surprising. He is unpredictable, able to dish out a lot of damage quickly, and even temporarily buff himself. My strategy was to use Barret as a tank using Steel Skin and Lifesaver to absorb damage from the other 2 members. As soon as stagger occurred, I would use Tifa's Unbridled Strength into Omni Strike continuously. As with my materia, the ATB would fill up very quickly, allowing for insane damage output to defeat Gilgamesh for a trophy. As I had been collecting all the intel during the main story, which is a lot, just look at all of this. as the Gilgamesh questline unlocks a new region, and with it completed, this meant I had completed all of Chadley's intel gathering, allowing me to craft all the materia possible from him for another trophy. This would follow up into two of the most difficult trophies in the entire game, virtually renowned for completing all of Chadley's combat simulations, and 7-Star Hotel for donating all possible items to Johnny's treasure trove. I briefly mentioned about it when I unlocked a few trophies for it. There are a total of 88 tasks to be completed to gain items. Everything here intertwines together, as some of your minigames are going to be tied to side quests and so on. Like I said, you practically need 100% completion of the game for the Platinum Trophy. It consists of many things within the game, from completing every possible minigame. There are a lot of them. We glossed over a few during the playthrough, such as Desert Rush, Pirates Rampage. They are all vastly different from one another. There's the likes of racing, shooting, platforming, time trials, and guess what? Jules is back for a crunch off, this time with the adaptive trigger features of the PS5. I found most of the minigames fun in the moment, like Chocobo Racing. My only problem with it is that it's a bit too easy. Jump Frog, Dolphin Show. However, you need to beat their hard mode variants and achieve their highest scores. Some are alright, like G-Bike, Galactic Survivors, and Run Wild, but some of them can easily become irritating, and to name them, Glide the Chocobo, Fort Condor, Gears and Gambits. You have all the Queen's Blood players to beat around the world to achieve the highest rank. What makes it better is that it even has its own storyline. In addition, the various iterations of it, such as puzzles found in Costa del Sol and the Gold Saucer, as well as the boat tournament. You can unlock cards by beating players and by buying them in shops, making the card game easier. It does get difficult towards the highest rank though. Remember the Loveless Play trophy where I got an S rank? I also mentioned that was the chapter where you may get a different cutscene to someone else. I had Tifa in my playthrough, now I'll need to get an S rank with Aerith and Yuffie. Speaking of trophies we've already unlocked, and I'm repeating myself here, but it's for the treasure trove, as it includes winning every Chocobo race, collecting every Moogle intel, achieving an A rank in all the piano songs, beating every opponent in 3D Brawler, and completing every side quest. And as you're at the Gold Saucer completing these tasks, you'll get points to spend at their stores for the collectibles. However, you'll need your Chocobos throughout the regions to get some. That's also an intel I think I forgot to talk about. So you need to obtain a Chocobo for each region by doing a stealth mission, and by using their scent mechanic around the regions, you'll dig up the collectibles. Remember Junon? There is 3 of them here. When you're recruiting for the parade, this group asks you to take a picture of them, and you need to make sure it's good quality. Then you have the outstanding performance in the parade, which granted a trophy previously, and then the infantry, where we needed them to stay alive until we reached the port. There is even one in Shinra Manor when you're controlling Kate Sith. You have this section going on an elevator where it tells you to break 10 boxes within a time limit. Call it a skill issue, it took me several attempts to do this. Oh yeah, I nearly forgot, there's these scenic locations in each of the regions. This photographer asks you to go around and take pictures. Then you have all the combat challenges around the map, at the Gold Saucer with the Musclehead Coliseum, Corel Prison, Shinra Manor, and of course finally, the Chadley Combat Challenges, in which you'll need to complete this discovery quest by using Sid's ship to explore the oceans to find pirate treasure, then transmute an item to have access to specific combat challenges. This is where the virtually renowned trophy ties into the 7-Star Hotel one, as that is beating the brutal and legendary combat simulator challenges. They are all max level and on hard mode, meaning enemies will hit harder and you won't be able to use items. A ruthless gauntlet of challenges that will test your skill for every single character. You must beat 5 rounds while playing each character solo against powerful monsters. As you only gain 50% of your health and MP after each round, you must be careful with how much you spend. Your materia loadout here is very important. Chakra and Prey can help a ton as they heal you by expending ATB. What is even more annoying is how some of these bosses have instant killing attacks. Are you joking? What? How are you meant to get an attack in if it just keeps doing this? Do they want us to play the game? What is this? What? I have no words. I have no words. Are you joking me? Eventually, I would see myself improve at the combat. Yeah! Maybe I do actually like playing Red. I didn't really understand him at first, but
Just gotta stay the course.
I began to start learning him. I'm making progress. I was struggling. Learning to parry is key. Arif's one is so easy. Probably because she has insane DPS and can use Chrono Aegis.
Moving on then.
Huh? What the? I'm dead. I am literally that Street Fighter clip. That's what I just did. What? Oh my god, that was insane. It's like a parry simulator. Let's end it off with a focus shot. Oh, that one took 2 attempts, while Cloud's probably took like a dozen. Well, Yuffie's fun and easy to play, and now we only have Kate, Sif, and then unlock the other one. However, in my opinion, there are 2 harder challenges than the solo ones, and those are Rulers of the Outer Worlds, and the most difficult one of them all, Bonds of Friendship. Rulers of the Outer Worlds has you fighting as a team of 3 against a round 1 of Phoenix and Kujata, in which you must target Kujata until it dies to the Phoenix, only to be resurrected by it, then you can kill both. Round 2 against Titan and Bahamut Arisen. If Bahamut gets Giga Flare off, you're most likely dead, so you want to be running Re-Raise here to automatically revive. Round 3 against Odin and Alexander. Like before, Re-Raise is very useful. Round 4 is against Gilgamesh in hard mode. This is an unbelievable round as he can easily delete your health and even transform you into a frog if you don't have the resistance or play too close. Concluding round 5 against Virtual Sephiroth, who can easily bind you in place and Octoslash you to death. So Magnify Barrier and Re-Raise comes in handy. And guess what? If you die round 4, 5, it's back to the beginning, no checkpoints. It is a brutal gauntlet, as you'll likely get tested by Gilgamesh a lot before you get to Sephiroth, and why maxing out your materia is the best thing to do before attempting these challenges. Like I said, you must be careful with your MP usage, as if you use too much, you're not going to restore a lot for the next fight, and might find yourself in trouble, especially if you're not running prayer or chakra for heals. I ended up using the same party combination of Cloud, Tifa and Barret for the style of combat I used against Gilgamesh previously, as I found Barret's support and tank abilities useful, as well as Tifa's stagger multiplier and her synergy ability with Cloud to grant unlimited MP for a brief period, and after several hours I would beat Rulers of the Outer Worlds.
You ready? Barret!
Come on, we got this, 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 we got this. Come on. Come on, this is it. Get him, get him, yes! Oh my goodness, man. The limit siphon strategy is a godsend. And there we go. One of the best items in the game. I mentioned 2 things there, that I unlocked the best item in the game. The Gododorum, which instantly grants you limit break at the start of battle, and the limit siphon method, which will be useful for hard mode. To put it shortly, there's an equipment item that raises your level limit to the max, and a level siphon materia. Put the Gododorang onto another party member, and siphon it to a member with maximum level limit for a lot of damage at the start of battle. Anyhow, Bonds of Friendship, probably the hardest combat challenge in the game. It has you play as Zack and Cloud. The catch is, you can't change Zack's materia, but to be fair, his materia is not that bad. He can hit hard once you learn his charge mechanic during normal attacks, which is a combination of attacking and pressing the triangle button. When you build up your charge, it allows you to use stronger variants of Chain Slash and Meteor Shots. There are 10 rounds, a mix of strong enemies and summons. Titan, this bird thing that I can't pronounce, Phoenix, Brineborn Demon, Kujata, Ironclad, Alexander, Mindflayer, Bahamut Arisen, and Odin. It feels like everything has so much HP, and it's probably because you have one less party member. But as I said, once you learn how Zack works, you start dealing a lot more damage. Like before, enemies hit hard, so it's quite easy to die within a couple of hits. This is where switching characters helps a ton, as the AI can likely block or dodge before you have enough time to react. I can't say enough how important your materia is. You want the usual max HP and MP materia, precision defense that improves the functionality of blocking with perfect timing, and once you learn how good parrying is, it is life-changing. Steadfast block that further decreases enemy damage and fills the ATB gauge faster when guarding. Elemental and fire materia to absorb the linked elemental damage taken from enemies like Phoenix and Kujata. Re-raise here is the most important materia, as there can be DPS checks throughout these rounds like Alexander, Bahamut, Odin's limit breaks that one-shot you, otherwise you'll lose. This challenge would end up taking me many hours. During my initial attempts, Alexander would be my demise, then it would be Bahamut, as it was hard to land abilities on his wings during phase shift, as that was the easiest way to pressure it, and Odin, the final round. I lost so many attempts here to his limit break, instantly killing me, even with re-raise. He would immediately follow up, ending my run.
What?
It's a free combo. As you can see, that attempt was over 30 minutes, and I had to go back to round 1. The more attempts I did, I would improve in knowing the enemy's attacks, perfecting the block to negate the damage entirely, using Cloud and Zack's synergy skill to grant unlimited MP, as well as making use of spells to increase my damage, defense, and speed. This meant I would go into rounds with more MP, as I was able to maintain it better.
No.
I'm just gonna have to do it. I need the iframes. I really need the iframes. I'm so close, but so far. That's gonna do like 0 damage. That is gonna heal us though. But like I have no ATB whatsoever.
Good job. Hang back. Deal with that.
We're so close. We're so close. With Zack, do it. End it. Limit break. This is it. Finally. Oh my god. It's taken so long. It's probably taken at least like nearly 10 hours of gameplay to do this. Oh my god. 33 minutes and 43 seconds. I'm not even done with the platinum yet. I still got to play through hard mode story and do the other final combat challenge. We're so close. The other combat challenge I mentioned there is like Bonds of Friendship, but this time you have Sephiroth instead of Zack. It is a lot easier, as Sephiroth is stronger, or perhaps I improved at the game. Unlike Zack, Sephiroth gets re-raise, and you can use this with the unlimited mana synergy skill, allowing you to cast it for free, compared to how expensive it is normally, even with the magic efficiency materia. This would end up taking me the first attempt to beat. Okay, he's doing spatial distortion. I'm wondering why he's not doing his signature ability. I mean, I know it says using ATB commands lowers it, but when I was with Zack, he would do it much quicker. And we should be getting a trophy here. I'm so glad to be done with this. Easily One of the hardest trophies I've ever done. I mean, it's Sephiroth. That was one attempt. I mean, I guess I did learn the enemies from the Zack one. And there we go. Complete all of Curzblayz's combat simulations. With the final treasure trove item obtained, I would head back to Johnny's Seaside Inn and conclude it.
Thank you so much, bro, for everything!
I get a thank you and a trophy. His secret chest is now unlocked. 7-star hotel. Inform Johnny that you've donated all possible items to his treasure trove. The only gold trophy in the entire game. So let's see what's in this chest. A sheet of music. I mean, it is Sephiroth's theme. But for all of that, and the final trophy to unlock before the platinum was to complete every chapter of the story in hard mode. Overall, I think the hard mode chapters were easier than I expected, despite the mana constraints. This was probably because I improved at the game a lot by tackling the combat challenges first, learning more about the game with its parry mechanics, and good equipment to go into it. In addition, you can run away from most optional fights, and you can retry before a boss fight to get the best material loadout. I think the difficult chapters are the later ones, such as 11, 12, and 14, due to the amount of boss fights you must fight back to back. The only real annoyance were certain bosses that have instant kills when you have no knowledge, meaning re-raise. What a surprise. I'm speaking about you, Rude and Elena. So with Sephiroth defeated one more time, I would unlock the Platinum Trophy for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Come on, this is it. We're getting the Platinum Trophy. Braver. Done. Sephiroth defeated. That was easier than I expected. Completed chapter 14 on hard difficulty of Hardy stock. Complete all chapters on hard. The planet's hope. Earn all Final Fantasy VII Rebirth trophies. What a game. I liked this game a lot and had a great time, but this Platinum Trophy is difficult. I enjoyed a lot of things, from the story and its characters, environments, music, and the combat system. I also liked most of the side quests and proto-relics for their story elements, because not only did they develop the characters further, it also expanded the world with additional and returning ones. The fact that there's even more story tied to Queen's Blood and Gilgamesh that I didn't even thoroughly cover, as well as replaying chapter 12 for the various cutscenes with the characters, in which they make it easily accessible in the settings options. There were some tedious gameplay moments with the side content, such as retrieving the chickens and having to play multiple rounds of Gears and Gambits, but it was worth it to see more of the Avalanche group. There were also some irritating experiences, such as throwing boxes as Kate Sith, playing some minigames on hard mode, Fort Condor being a prime example, but it's a platinum playthrough. I feel like there's always going to be tedious and frustrating moments. Several regions in the game to explore, and Chadley wants you to gather all the intel. You know, the things like activating this tower, remembering a button combination, scanning this object, go and defeat these group of enemies. They can be repetitive, but I didn't really mind it. I think the enjoyment of these tasks come down to being invested in the characters and the world building from completing them, as well as if you enjoy playing open world games and how often you play them. I will admit, I did experience the fatigue of these tasks in chapter 12 when it added more. I think I had completed most of it at that point except the Gilgamesh Island and a few quests, in which I decided to conclude the main story as I really wanted to see how it would end, so I went back to it after, and that's the thing, you can mix up the main and side content to your liking. I also can't forget those last few combat challenges. They do really live up to their name. Brutal. I should probably have crafted the Genji equipment to break the damage limit. That would have helped. Nearly 150 hours condensed into 2, and that means a lot was left out, such as a variety of cutscenes and narrative moments, as I was trying to focus on the main points. That is why I would recommend, if you truly want to experience the story, is to play the game yourself. I've tried my somewhat interpretation of it, that Aerith is dead and Cloud is imagining her appearance towards the end, but I could be wrong. It could be her livestream spirit as Nanaki senses her and sees the plane leave. Then there's the multitudes of worlds, rainbows at certain events, the white void which is seemingly to do with the live stream, fighting Sephiroth with Aerith, the huge rift in the sky. It's confusing towards the end, but I guess it's supposed to create discussions like these. Let me know your theories. Now we wait for part 3 to see how the story unfolds. If you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up and a comment. Let me know what you thought of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and if you've unlocked the Platinum Trophy. There's also the subscription button if you want to see more from me in the future. Thanks for watching and have a good one.